Oh, hi guys, lovely to see you. Thank you for joining me a little later than usual. Today we're gonna look at that essay task 2 and focusing on getting ideas, organizing your ideas, coming up with a stance, a very clear opinion that you make very clearly, and then writing the introduction. So my son has fiddled with the internet. It's not much better, to be honest. So let's see who's here. Rupinder is here. First time, I think, Rupinder. Prachi is here. Hi, Prachi. Prakash is here. Lovely to see you. And Sarab is here. Great. Thanks for joining me. Hi, Nazila. Yesterday evening, I was very lucky to have an online chat with the very famous Sir Keith from IELTS Speaking Success, and we had a lovely chat, and he's mentioned my YouTube channel, and so I'd like to welcome you here. You know, Keith focuses on speaking, I focus on writing, so we get on very well. Yes, Nazila, hi. Yes, I thought Keith told me that he mentioned my 28-day planner. Does everybody have the 28-day planner? Because I'm updating my website to make that more useful for you. So every time you go on my 10-minute lessons on my website, you can see which day of the planner it relates to. So I'm spending a lot of time updating that and making the planner a lot more useful for you. So please let me know if you don't have one. Amira's here. Lovely, Amira. And I think, is new again today. Okay, how's the Wi-Fi, guys, for you today? All right, you got this. Thank you, Chahat. Nice to meet you. Great, so let's get started. I'm gonna share my screen. Thanks, Nazila. And let's just pop the question up again. You should be able to see that, I think. Is that clear enough for you to see? Let me just make it a little bigger just in case of the internet. Okay. 9 days to your exam, Nazila. That's okay. You can do a lot in 9 days. Okay. Right, so this was the question. In some cultures, older people, you know, this idea that our parents or grandparents are spending their money instead of leaving it to their children. And I wanted to, first of all, ask you, okay, it may be a personal question, but in the comments, maybe you could just say, do you expect your family to leave you money? Do you think that they will or if they should? So let's maybe have a quick vote. Thanks, Sarab. Hi, Rupinder. Great. Yeah, so I often ask students to think about what their gut feeling is. What is your gut feeling when you answer this question? Do you think, absolutely, people should be able to spend their money however they want? It's their money, you know? Or do you think, well, hang on a minute, it's only fair these days because it's quite difficult for young people to, again, get on the housing ladder, we say, get on the housing ladder, buy a house. It's difficult these days. Jobs are scarce. Life is more unstable. There's more insecurity. So shouldn't our parents help us with, you know, the money that they saved when times were easier? I don't know. What do you think? Let's have a look. So Taib is saying, yes, parents should help us, but we admire them. Okay, Taib, great. You've got your gut feeling. I don't think admiring them is totally relevant to the question. I'm really strict about being relevant to the question. That's not an issue here, whether you admire them or not. You've got to look at the facts. And that's what we're going to do today. Sarab says some people want their children to stand on their own 2 feet, earn by themselves, not spoon feeding. Okay, lovely vocabulary there then. So let's put some of this vocabulary. So you need to stand on their own 2 feet. That's a lovely expression. So I'll put it like that, and you have access to this Google Doc. They should stand on their own 2 feet. Spoon feeding is a great expression, Sarab. Okay, let's say they don't need spoon feeding. A fantastic expression. I associate it with studying in school. The teachers spoon feed you the answers. So you're like a child, obviously, but I think it could be relevant here, definitely. What else? Let's have a look at some more language you've got for me. Nazila saying, however, my parents are not employed. I don't feel it is compulsory if they were to leave me their savings. Lovely, Nazila. So we've got lots of synonyms coming up for the money that we're talking about. Their savings is a great synonym. What does it say here? Spend, in the question it's spend their money, saving money. So you've used a synonym, which is their savings. And I thought there were quite a lot of words you could use, like their inheritance. I put a link in the Facebook group, and there's a thing called, a group of people called Spending the Kids' Inheritance. They're called skiers. It's a kind of acronym. A skier is a retired person or a pensioner who just spends their time going on holiday, going on cruises, and spending the kids' inheritance. Yeah. So inheritance is quite a good, useful word. What's the verb from inheritance? Because then you've got more flexibility to use. So I'll come back to you with that. Kavita's saying, I think older people have pension. Okay, that's great, Kavita. Actually, we've got synonyms then for older people. You could say pensioners. Their savings, their pension is good. They are financially stable. Okay, so there's a kind of if question, and we'll talk about that later. If they are financially stable, exactly, and they have disposable income. Again, these nouns, these collocations, financially stable, disposable income, learn them together as chunks so that you don't have to think about the words. They'll just come to your head like that. Okay. Amira saying, no, they shouldn't spend over their children unless they have excellent income. Okay. Amira, great. I like the word of use of unless. So I'm going to put unless there. Can you think of something better than excellent? Because excellent just means it's judgmental, isn't it? So try to think of something more factual, just something like high income family, low income family. So disposable income, let's say high income. Yes. Okay. Hi, Swati. How do we use faras in writing? Chahat, I'm not sure what your question means. Sarab says some people do not get time during their employment to travel, so they want their retirement to be spent visiting tourist destinations with their savings. Okay, so arguments in favor of why people should spend money on traveling. So where can we put that? Let's put, okay, right. Can I come back to that for a minute? So first of all, we talked a little bit about, let me just make this a bit smaller. Okay, we talked a little bit about why is this an issue? why are they asking you this question? And if you missed Tuesday's lesson, you might remember we talked about this generation of people. Again, good vocabulary, baby boomers, they're called. People who retired at 60, have a large income and have a long increased life expectancy. Again, those collocations, generous pensions. So again, instead of excellent, try to use a fixed collocation. Okay, then we've talked about our gut feeling. What do we really feel? So always follow that gut feeling. It might give you kind of a more passionate answer. Now, my third way of generating ideas is to think of what I call a bilateral argument. Is it depends. And breaking the argument into two clear sides. Now, of course, you have to choose one side. That's important. But in order to organize your ideas, you break them into two sides. So, like you already said, okay, the two sides could be rich or poor. So you said if the adults, if the pensioners have plenty of money, or if their children, their offspring are financially stable, then why not? Their offspring didn't need that money. As you said, Sarab, people worked throughout their whole life. So I'm going to put arguments in favor. And you said people worked hard. And remember, related to that question, it's about should they give their money to their children. So what have the parents already done for their children that you could argue is important? Think about that, and I'm going to come back and ask for some more arguments in favor. So, you know, your parents worked hard. Why? What did they do? And I'm going to come back. Okay, so Sarab said they didn't get time during their employment to travel. Okay, so you could argue now it's their turn to relax, get a well-earned break, enjoy life while they can, you know, make the most of their time that they didn't have while you were growing up, maybe. Swati is saying they have a cushion of pensions. It's not a collocation, Swati, so I would say they have a good pension or a disposable income. Habal is saying, hi Rashida. Rashida is saying, I think they brought and bred us. Yeah, so past tense maybe during all these years, so they could spend their money as they want. I think that's another good point, Rashida. It's their money. They earned it and can spend it as they want. Exactly. Okay. So just watch the past tense there. How about brought us up? They brought us up. They brought us up and now should enjoy the benefits of lack of responsibilities now. They've done all the hard work. They put you on the right path in the world. Yes, exactly. It's payback time, maybe. Okay. Raisha saying it's also parents' obligations to see whether their children are in need of some financial help. Right. So arguments against then. Let's go stronger with that, Aisha. It's a good argument. So arguments against. And what are they? Well, Raisha's saying, yeah, parents have a duty or an obligation to ensure their children are well cared for throughout their life. So the question is, so what? I always say at the end, so what? Your point, if children need help, it should be made available to them. Yes, you might want to then argue a lot in terms of, from the point of view of the child. And a very good way of doing that is to think about, what might be difficult for them. We talked a little bit at the start about how circumstances have changed. There's no job for life anymore. Housing, of course, is almost unaffordable for the younger generation these days. So Swati is saying, Chahat, I still don't know what you mean by phase. I'm really sorry. Can we use phase in writing? Try again. Sarab, rather than saving money, they may help them to improve their academic success, maybe, and skill development, by which children might be able to stand alone on their feet. Okay, Sarab, so you're assuming that they haven't already done that. I think the point you made earlier is that they have already done that. And possibly that might be your stronger argument. They invested money. That maybe would be a nice vocabulary again. They invested money in their children's education, and therefore allowing them, as you said, to stand on their own 2 feet, to find secure employment. Some parents, they call it the bank of mum and dad these days. Again, funny expression. You can use expressions if you've got them in inverted commas like that. Because the bank of mum and dad is a well-known expression. But of course you might say, well, it's not academic. So therefore, if you've got that great expression and you feel it's not quite academic enough, put it in inverted commas, and that gives you, that kind of allows you to use it. So where we had, maybe that's what you were asking about the skiers, I think. Yes. So, yes. So again, put it in inverted commas and then explain what you mean. So the bank of mum and dad, what were we saying about them? Oh, yes. They act as guarantors for deposits on new homes. So they often have to fund their children's deposit, or the bank says, look, if they can't pay their mortgage, let's put mortgage, that's another good word. If the children can't pay their mortgage, then the parents will have to pay it or even sell their house. So this bank of mum and dad, as we call it in the UK, mortgage is horrible spelling, there we go. I don't know, does that happen in your country? Do your parents help you out when you're buying a house for the first time? Maybe let me know in the comments what's common for you. Right. Look, where were we? Arguments against. Parents have a duty to ensure their children are well cared for throughout their life. If children need help, it should be made available to them. Okay. Then Prakash is saying, with age, retired people face health issues, hence should save to spend on medical bills. Prakash, I think that's a really valid point. I just think the question is not about that. It's about enjoying themselves. I'm sure you could definitely include it, but I wouldn't use it as your main point. It's more the moral argument. Is it right that parents should spend their money? Of course, if there are medical issues, you could put that maybe in the conclusion. It goes without saying, you could say. Let's just put that as a addition. It goes without saying that parents should keep enough money for medical medical bills. Absolutely. But then you could say, but this does not necessarily mean, and that's a nice expression. This does not necessarily mean that they should not spend it enjoying themselves. So that is a good point, Prakash. Of course, it goes without saying that. Sorry, no comma. Never a comma before that. That's my mistake. It goes without saying that parents should keep, again, this is where your opinion is comes in through the should, but does not necessarily mean they should not spend it enjoying themselves. Okay, Prakash, great. Chahat, finally, thank you. I think I get what you mean. You mean informal phrases and expressions. I think that's what you mean. Informal phrases and expressions. Normally, no, I would say you shouldn't. However, if you think you've got some good vocabulary, and I think Novi, you had a nice... Novi, this is a perfect example. Novi said here about letting their hair down. Now, because that's such a fantastic expression, Novi, I would say keep it, use it. But to be safe, you could put it in inverted commas like that. And then it kind of shows the examiner, you know it's informal. You're showing the examiner, look, I can write formally, but what I want to say is that they should be allowed to let their hair down. And that would get points for less common idioms and expressions. I hope that answered your question, Chahat. It's always a kind of depends answer in a way. Normally, no way, I would say. Don't use informal expressions. But when there are so many good ones related to this topic, then find a way to integrate them if you feel confident about using them. Okay, where are we? Hi, Odedra. So we talked about Prakash's idea about the medical bills. Yes. Okay, great. Prachi is saying, older people struggled too much. Prachi, I'm thinking about being academic, first of all. Did all older people struggle too much? So remember, you have to talk very generally. And you can't, you can't be too general about, you can't say that everybody's the same. Maybe that's the easiest way to think about it. So this is a generalization. Older people struggled too much. Maybe it's the word too, which is negative. Lots of older people didn't struggle at all. They were the lucky ones, according to some people. So be really careful. How can we improve Prachi's point there? So we already said older people have worked hard. Maybe, Prachi, that might be the best way. Struggled to maintain a family, a family, and you could say without modern, you could say without modern labor saving devices. I just love that collocation, such as washing machines or takeaways, things like that. So yes, older people definitely struggled in some aspects, but be careful about saying that they struggle too much, because that the examiner would think, well, actually, that's not true. Yeah. And they didn't do anything for themselves. Again, too broad, Prachi. So they have spent money for themselves rather than... So they should spend money on themselves rather than worry about their children. Great. The last bit I agree with, but remember they should. You're making an opinion about they should. Okay, Swati is saying, let me just make some space so you can see it. Okay, so Swati is saying, baby boomers have worked tirelessly throughout their life, so they should enjoy their life. Watch the repetition, Swati, rather than feeding their kids. Now, what do we all think? Swati, is it okay to use kids in academic writing? I'll come back to that. So is it, let's go here. Is it okay to use kids in academic writing? Feeding the kids also, Swati, I think we've got to assume now that they are not kids anymore, that the pensioners, the older people now have grown up children. That's maybe good vocabulary. So we could say with grown up children. Synonym for children, maybe offspring. So I'm wondering if it's okay to use kids. So Nazila's saying kids is informal. It keeps doing that. Swati is saying offspring. Yes, Swati, definitely. So kids is informal. However, let's say children and offspring is uncountable. So no S there. And notice no S for children or offspring, obviously. Okay. Is it okay to use kids? Right, where were we? So Kavita, you're saying the same thing. You're saying some older people have struggled too much. Yeah, but too much, we don't know. You can't say that about all older people. You simply can't say it about all older people. So you have to be careful with what you say. Yeah. Sarab is saying sometimes older people may be more vulnerable with their health. Okay, again, the point about health, I would say don't go off topic with the health. But you've got a really good point there, Sarab, actually. Some children may take advantage of their parents' goodwill. Some certain vulnerable pensioners may feel pressurized into handing over their hard earned savings. Again, collocations, hard-earned savings. Pressurized, American, pressured. Okay, into handing over their hard-earned savings when the children don't actually need it. Okay, so that's a good point, Sarab. So what you said about the vulnerability of older people and possibly their generosity, goodwill. So goodwill and generosity. Good words there. So take advantage of parents' goodwill, generosity. As you said, vulnerable pensioners may feel that kind of, oh, maybe I should help my children, but it's their hard-earned money. Why should they hand it over? Okay, great. We're doing really well. All right. Who have I missed? Chahat. Okay. Chat, old age is that age where older people feel lonely. Money is the good source which reduce their monotonous life. Older people could do anything with money, buy anything they like. Okay, so Chahat, keep your point really simple. Your simple point is it's their money and they can do what they like with it. That's the basic premise. It's their money. They can do whatever, for emphasis, whatever they want with it. Okay, great. So we've got plenty of arguments. Hi Hind, Nazilla, some struggle in some points. Some older people struggle. What else have I missed? Sarab is saying, I believe parents should help their children meet their basic necessities, such as shelter, to ensure their offspring, no S, do not fall into debt. Okay. Okay, so it's coming back to this argument, to ensure their children, okay, do not fall into debt. But again, isn't that the child's fault? You could argue both ways, couldn't you? You've got to decide if you think children become independent at the age of 18 and should be allowed to make their own way in life. Let's put that expression. Children should be allowed to make their own way in life without constantly relying on parents for backup. Maybe, yeah, they should be independent of their parents after a certain age, maybe. You could add that, after a certain age. Good. Okay, and there was one thing I wanted to come back to, which was the vocabulary about the inheritance, wasn't it? Okay. So the inheritance is the noun form, and the verb is to inherit. Wealth might be a synonym. Yeah, so and also it's quite good to use inherited wealth as a noun and adjective. So that's an adjective. Right, okay, so you've got all of the options there. Tayyab is saying, it is a time of the reward of the old man. They must enjoy the movement of life. Why must? In your opinion? By visiting hilly areas, a bit too specific, by visiting hilly areas as well as share their experience with the youngsters. Okay. Yeah, visiting hilly areas is too specific. You mean that they should take time out to travel and see new places, for example. Nazilla, you've got inherit, great, lovely. Okay, great. So far, let's just review and let's have a look at what we've got. So we've talked about why this is an issue. So we've got lots of vocabulary there about why this problem, a kind of problem, has come about. Very often when I talk about how you get ideas, well, one, as we've said here, is just to ask yourself the question in simple terms. Should parents give their money? And what's your gut feeling? The second is to think of, well, it depends. You know, if the children are fine, yes. But if the children are struggling, no. Okay, so that's the bilateral. The other way of doing that is my EEE system. Where did I put it? Let's have a look. It's coming here, I think. Right. Okay, so my system here, let's take those away. You know, are there economic reasons why parents should give or keep their money? Well, of course there are. Educational benefits, of course there are. They but you could take the angle that they've already done that. Now, what about the ethical reasons? What is morally right or wrong? Again, up to you. If you think it's morally, ethically wrong to deprive your children of money, then that's your argument. Okay? Environmental reasons, this time I would say no, not many. Okay, lovely. Swati, you remembered my system. Okay, good. And then I had another system, which I use sometimes, is, okay, we've talked about this bilateral, about breaking it into two things. You know, when we talked about the mobile phone, for example, we said, okay, for personal reasons, it's great. For professional reasons, it's not so good because you spend your life accessible by phone. Okay, then we talked about school uniform and we said, okay, for practical reasons, it's really good. Practical reasons, easy to clean, cheap, comfortable. Also, moral reasons, it makes everybody equal. So you can break it into two kind of very basic, clear reasons. So here you can think about the past and the present, and that's quite good for introductions. So thinking about this issue and why it's an issue, you might disagree with me, but would you say in the past, parents were always expected to hand down their wealth to their children, but now it's changed? Would you agree with me? So it was in the past, okay, let's write it like that. It was, let's say, again, I'm putting this in inverted commas. It was the norm. I put it like this. Don't use too many of those. To hand down wealth to the next generation. Again, synonym for offspring. Synonym we've had children, offspring. Now we've got the next generation. And that gives you a nice, okay, so you agree it was the norm. In the past, it was totally expected of you. Okay, and nowadays, not so much. And of course, that's why the issue has come about. In which case, then you have to think about, well, what has changed for young people? And as we said, but circumstances have changed. And one of the reasons is that people are living longer and, as we said, have more time on their hands. Oh, that's another expression. Have more time on their hands. Have more time on their hands. So we've got had let your hair down, stand on your own 2 feet, and have more time on your hands. Fantastic. Okay, right. Raisha's saying, previous people used to live a simple and dependable life. Yes, definitely. In the past, there seemed to be some more security, more stability. So that's quite good vocabulary. Again, using the noun forms, security, stability in the past. People had, we again, inverted commas, jobs for life. That's what we call them. You expected to start a job when you're 21 and then retire when you're 60. That was the expectation. And then give your money away. Yes. Okay, great. Lovely. So, lots of ideas. How are we going to start it? In the past, though, terminology has changed. Yes. Can I make those bigger? Oh, yes, I can. There we go. Right. Amira is asking the good question. Should we write equally on both sides? It depends. The question, Amira, is do you think it is positive or negative? So anybody who's watched my videos before, what do you think my answer is to Amira's question? should we write equally both sides? What do you think with this kind of question? So Amira, actually I'm going to write that. Should we write equally for both sides? And put your thoughts in the comments. Just put a yes or no, or it depends. Swati is saying we should go for one option. Okay, Swati, I'll wait. I'll see what everybody else says. Okay, Nazilla, yes, we don't need paraphrasing. I totally agree with you on that. I know lots of people don't agree. Swati is saying, right, put 2 paragraphs on one side. Okay. Adunala saying it's an opinion essay. You have to clearly pick a side. Okay. All right. Adunala, I totally, utterly agree with you. So my advice, well, it's not an advice. You must always pick a side, as Odunala said. Pick a side and argue what you believe. We don't write equally because if there's a certain extent, then you can, Kavita. Okay, good. Raisha saying we need to discuss both but still have only one opinion. Yes, I believe we should write distinctive ideas for both. Sarab, okay. Rather than sitting on the fence, have to take a clear stance. Clear stance, I love that word. That says it all. Yeah. Depends, Nazilla saying depends on the side I agree with. Emphasize your opinion. Explain the other side a little. Okay, I think you're all correct. I think you've all basically said what I would say. The question is totally open. That question is not, doesn't tell you must discuss both sides. The question is totally open. What do you think? Okay, so if the question is what do you think, you simply say what do you think. So if you think there are equal arguments for and against, you write equal arguments for and against, but you say which one you agree with. So the 4-paragraph essay could be, okay, some people believe parents have worked all their life and should relax. Other people believe parents should have a responsibility for their children. I agree with this opinion because blah, blah, blah. So as long as your side or your stance is clear and it's in the introduction, in the intro, then whatever else you do, it's up to you. You could have one essay, one-sided, and just say why you agree. Or you could have a 2-sided. Remember, it only comes down to that, nothing more. Both sides, then your opinion. It's this kind of question, it doesn't ask you to discuss both sides. There is an expectation that you will address both sides. Okay, let's put it like that. It's good to address both sides. So it's good to show that you understand both arguments and you only agree with one side. So it's very academic, sophisticated to say, yeah, I understand what they say, but that's not what I think. And that's fine. But it's not obligatory because the question is, what do you think? Does that make sense? Habal saying, Rashida, sorry, yeah, we need to pick one side. In your opinion, definitely. But in the main body, Rashida, you can show both sides. But ultimately, in the conclusion, say ultimately what you believe. Yes. definitely. Okay, great. So I prepared this, and I've got 4 people already. That's fine because we didn't finish it. So this is the Google form. Nazila, I'll come back. This is the Google form. If you're new here, just go to the link and follow the instructions. Really simple. You can edit if you change your mind and put your name there so I know who you are. Like so we can see here Novi has put her name there, and then Tayyab there. Tayyab, I know you've done the whole thing, but I'm just going to look at the introduction for the moment. Who else has come here? Zulkuma's here, and then somebody here with no name. So you can go back and change it and put your name. So ultimately we're going to write the whole essay, possibly over, it's Thursday, isn't it? Okay. Okay, well, think about it over the weekend. Let's just have a look, please, at Novi's. Really brief look. So you get an idea, if you're new here, get an idea of what I would expect, if I was the examiner, what I would expect from your introduction. Now, so Novi, I love this in recent years, and if anybody can tell me why you think is the blue line, then please in the comments, what do you think Google is telling you to do? Oh, and by the way, I would recommend that you start your own Google Doc, because Google will help you with your grammar. It'll tell you when there's something you need to think about. So keep your own version. It's really quick and easy to open one Google Doc and put all of your writing in there, and then it'll really help you long term. Okay, so Novi, in recent years, it has become far more common trend for elderly in Western countries to let their hair down on their pension's time. I really like that opening statement. What do they want? They just want an article, Novi. Become a far more common trend. For elderly, yes. Again, it's an adjective, so I would say elderly people, or simply the elderly, which is maybe a more academic way. No need for. Okay, possibly. Far would be okay grammatically, but maybe the meaning has become, it's not a huge trend, maybe. Become a more common trend for the elderly in Western countries to let their hair down. On their pension time, I would probably change to when they retire, I think, Novi. Would be just a bit more natural. When they retire. Oh, was that in the question? What was in the question? Hang on a minute. After retirement. Okay, fine. It's not exactly in the question, so we can do it. Okay. After retirement. So it's fine to say to let their hair down when they retire. Okay. In my opinion, this could have both positive and negative consequences in equal measure. Okay, Novi, that's great. It's absolutely fine. But I think you know my opinion about this is that though the language is good, it's a little bit memorized language, which the examiners don't like. They like to see that anybody could memorize that. It's great. It will get you a 6, but it won't get you over a 6 if it's memorized. So if you're aiming for 6, absolutely fine. Okay. I'm not going to go through all of these because I'm going to keep them and do them all together. But let's have a quick look at Tayyab. So Tayyab, you're new here. You can see the blue Google things telling us we need to think about it. So obviously click on it. In, many, part needs a plural. senior citizens needs plural are spending money on leisure activities when they retire from work. Okay, I believe that older people must save for their young generation rather than just wasting it for enjoyment. So you can see how much of this you could self-correct. This essay supports that retired employees can utilize the money in beneficial work such as a child's education, emergency situations. Okay, fine, Tayab. Nice. I'm not going to analyze the content today, just a little bit looking at the grammar. Zulkama, life after retirement ought to be amusing and carefree. Should it? Why? That's your opinion. Don't start with your opinion. So if you want to do it as a non-opinion, some people believe that life, much better now, after retirement ought to be amusing and carefree. Thus, the senior generation, no, so it's not a result. And this is what people believe. And that the senior generation have this right to spend money on savouring whatever they have wished for while building a family or working. Okay, working hard, maybe. All right, so Zulkama, now I've changed it to a general statement from an opinion, okay? Zulkama, if you're still here, look at the difference. You're talking about other people, not what you think. So it's much better to start like that. Now, you can give your opinion here as you do. But it's not a hence example. It's not hence. It's not a result. It's what you believe now. I believe that this is a positive attitude towards older people on the grounds of continuing a joyful life fulfilling. Okay, fine. So this is where you put your opinion now, but not right at the start. Okay. Great. Okay, so Zulkama, I hope that was just a really simple tip that you could easily just fix in the exam. Much better now. Okay, Tayab, I'm not sure what you mean. I'm going to correct it on Tuesday, but if you open your own Google Doc, do you have Google Docs, Tayab? It works in Microsoft Word or any kind of spell checker, things like that. But if you can get Google Docs, that's what I would recommend. Sarab saying present perfect suffice has become means far. Okay. It has become a more common trend. Far, I think, is about quantity, though. How much more? But anyway, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, great, guys. So this is ready for you now. Just go there, and if you don't know already about this Google Doc, again, if you're new here, I'm going to put that in the comments. It's also in my Facebook group. You can always find it there, and it's always the same Google Doc. So you can see all the previous ones are here. Oh God, it's getting too big. 115. I need to cut it a bit now. So go and make sure you have a look at it before I cut it, because I've already cut it once, and I've got one book of 100 pages. I'm trying to publish, but it's taken a long time, but I will. Okay. So let's just fix that. Say why you agree. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, guys. If you're new, remember to subscribe. So I'm going live every Tuesday at 2. Easy to remember. Tuesday at 2. Thursday at 3. And you know you can find all of my materials on my website, which is IELTS ETC. Not letting me change it. Oh, yeah, IELTS ETC. Oh, yeah. Anyway, okay. Thank you, guys, and I will see you on Tuesday. Right. Yes. Okay, I hope the Wi-Fi was okay today. And if you've got any questions or any requests, remember, I'm always looking for new materials that we can practice, or any grammar points that you found difficult and you want me to go over, then do let me know. Okay, bye. Thanks, Nazila. See you, everybody. Thanks for taking part, and see you next time. Have a lovely weekend. Okay, bye-bye.